my channel. My name is Joanna. If this is your first time joining me, thank you so much for being here. I hope you stay. My intention is always the same. It is to help you recognize your own potential and to help you embody more of your true self, more of your true power, more of the amazing being that you truly are beyond your conscious thoughts as a human being. For those of you who are regular watchers, subscribers, thank you so much for being here. You may have noticed that I haven't posted in the last couple of weeks, and that's because I have been going through some pretty intense energies myself, going through a lot of growth, a huge growth spurt, and it has literally forced me to pull away and take time for myself so that I can assimilate or integrate some of these energies. I am not done yet, so it feels a little bit like I am on a choppy waters. The waters are not very smooth. There's a lot of internal growth that's happening, and most of what I'm experiencing, many of you will experience as well, and probably are experiencing already. So I will go through some of the themes that you might be experiencing right now, which may bring with itself a certain level of discomfort. And who likes to be uncomfortable? I mean, sometimes we do things to be uncomfortable, like we go to see horror movies, or some people do. But then it is our choice. We choose to feel uncomfortable. It is different when it is seemingly happening to us. Then the level of discomfort is not as welcome. So what I'm going to do today is the video is going to be structured slightly differently. I'm not going to do pick a card. Instead, I'm going to go through 5 themes that you might be experiencing at this point of your life. And again, this is general, so it will not make sense to everybody, but I trust the universe in terms of guiding me what I am saying here to you. And the very fact that you are watching this, chances are that you will probably resonate with one, or at least 1 or 2 of the themes that I'm going to be talking about. Is there anything else I want to say? Yes, before I go on with this information, for those of you who haven't done so already, I have created a transformational toolkit that is absolutely free to you, absolutely at no charge other than clicking a button, to help you literally transform yourselves, to help you let go and release that which no longer serves you, to help you heal your inner child, to help you understand your unconscious attachments, so that unhealthy attachments, so that by becoming conscious of these unhealthy attachments, you can then do something about it, if you are obviously willing to do something about it. And these tools have been designed by me with my team, with my spirit team, in order to help you grow, in order to help you expand in a way that is fruitful and as least uncomfortable as possible. Though to experience personal transformation is always uncomfortable, because it denotes change, and ego generally doesn't like change. We like to feel comfortable. So as you go through these discomforts of these energies that we are experiencing worldwide, the entire human race is undergoing a massive transformation, and I believe all you have to do is just look around and see what's been happening over the last several years, particularly the last 2 years or so. And it's very easy to see that globally we are on planet Earth undergoing a massive restructuring on many levels. And this restructuring happens particularly internally first. then it is transferred on to the outside, or situations on the outside force our inner transformation. So it can go either way. It can go both ways. So if you are here listening to this, do yourself a favor. Download these free tools. The link is down below. Just click on the link. All you have to do is just literally click on the link and download the tools, and get yourself started with this process of transformation, if you are willing, of course. For those of you who have already downloaded them and you've worked with them, I've seen quite a few of you commenting on these tools and that you find them extremely helpful. They're all channeled. There's no scripts. I don't do scripts. It just comes to me. So I am hoping that it will be useful to you, and I'm very grateful for you being here. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy, because there's many amazing people out there, and there's only so many hours in a day. So thank you so much for being here. Without you watching this, I wouldn't do what I do. And I've said this many times, I absolutely love what I do. All right, so without further ado, here are some of the key themes that you might be experiencing right now. And I'm going to throw a little bit of my personal experience, just to kind of nicely tie it together. I believe that part of my job, if you will, is to share my experiences. And that's because when I experience something, chances are many of you are experiencing the same thing. And there's something powerful about knowing that you are not going through this challenge or these challenges alone. There's something very powerful about that. There's something very calming about that. There's something almost reassuring, knowing that you are not alone in this. And no, you are not alone in this. Not only are you not alone in a human form, you're also not alone because you have a lot of spirit form around you, helping you navigate through these often challenging and difficult waters. Because like I said, to go through a transformation, to go through a process which we call ego death, is not a small thing. It is literally reshaping yourself from inside out. And that takes time, that takes patience. It most certainly takes a lot of courage, and it often brings up a lot of fear. And this is what I have been experiencing. Internally, I am literally reshuffling from inside out. A while ago, I proclaimed to the universe that I'm ready to let go of my attachments, of my unhealthy attachments, of the types of attachments that keep me limited. And the one thing I know about the universe, and I know that for sure, is that when I ask for it, the process begins to happen. So I am going through my own inner transformation, where I'll go through the themes, but let's start with the themes. One of the themes that you might be experiencing, and probably have been experiencing for a while, is expanding your energetic space or energetic field by filtering out what is no longer serving your purpose. And that can come through by the way of losses of jobs, losses of relationships, losses of identity. That's a big one. And these things, these themes, these energies are very, very potent. We as humans like to be comfortable. Like I've said before, I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. So when we experience things like changes, big changes in our how we make a living, big changes in our relationships, big changes to our internal and external states, emotional states, mental states, those experiences can and tend to create at first a bit of an upheaval, because it's a bit like climbing a mountain. the reasons why people climb mountains is because the top of the mountain offers something that is amazingly beautiful, amazingly powerful, different perspective, a perspective that cannot be seen from any other angle or any other space. However, to get to that space on the top of the mountain is usually a lot of grueling hard work. And it requires, one, to be persistent, to be well equipped, if you will, and trusting the process, and drinking a lot of water. So for some of you, what I'm getting is, right now as I'm speaking to you, as you're listening to this, your water intake probably needs to be up a little bit. So that's a bit of a tidbit that's coming up for some of you. So you are likely in a space where your external environment is changing by certain situations, things, people, circumstances that are leaving you. For some of you, these situations are happening seemingly outside of your agenda. In other words, they feel like they're happening to you. And for some of you, you are the one creating this change. You are the one eliminating these situations. You are the one saying no to certain relationships, certain dynamics, certain ways of making a living, where you live, how you live, what you eat, where you eat, what you listen to, who you listen to, what you believe, all these sort of things. And like I mentioned before, these things tend to create a bit of an upheaval because it is creating change, and change is often uncomfortable. If I'm repeating myself on that, I apologize, but you know, it is what it is. Discomfort is part of these energies, and I'm always very honest and upfront. I don't just speak about fairy tales and hearts and love, because life isn't, I wish life was just about that. It's not. Life has its ups and life has its downs, and if we only focus on the ups and don't focus on the downs, then we're not really truly living. We're not being really engaged fully in our life as an experience. And at the end of the day, if you've ever questioned yourself, why on earth am I here? You have chosen to be here to experience a human body in order to experience a physical existence. And I've said this many times, and many times I scratch my head and say, did I really choose this? And of course, from our human perspective, the answer is often, no way. Why on earth would I choose this for myself? But the reality is, when we were choosing to experience this life, we were not choosing based on our human thinking. We were choosing based on our soul's perception. And our soul's perception is very big. It's immense. In fact, it has no beginning and no end. On the other hand, our human perception is very narrow. It's very limited. So we only know what we know. We only know based on our life experiences, which are, by its very essence, limited. And there's nothing wrong with that. We have chosen to come here to have, in essence, a limited experience. So there's nothing wrong with that. However, within this limitedness, there's also room for a lot more. So there are likely parts of your life that are dismantling, and that necessitates you letting go of whatever it is that is dismantling. And chances are that we want to hold on to it. However, if something is weaning its way out of your life, chances are that, at least on a higher level, from your soul's perspective, it is no longer serving you. From your ego's perspective, you might have a different opinion, and Oftentimes when certain things leave our life, it makes us feel unsafe. So there is a lot of fears that will tend to come up in terms of our own safety, our safety in the world, our safety in relationships, our financial safety, how we make a living, how we take care of ourselves. What is life going to look like after all of this is, after this dismantling, after all of the things that are leaving, once they're gone, what is life going to look like? And chances are we don't know. You might have an idea. You might have wishes, desires. You might have intentions, which are absolutely wonderful and very purposeful. But at the end of the day, we don't really know. What we can really know, what we can really do is trust. I mean, when we wake up every morning, we really don't know what's going to happen. We think we do because we've done it many times, so we've gotten used to the idea that certain things happen when we do something. But at the end of the day, we really don't know, because anything can happen at any moment. Now, that doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that as we go through this process of expanding our energetic space, our energetic field, a certain level of trust has to come into play, because the tendency is to hold on to whatever wants to leave. And I am going through that myself. The way I express myself, the way my work flows through me, because this is, it's silly to call it work, but this is my work. This is what I do for a living. And that is very much changing. So what I have done for many, many, many years that have served me in many ways is now changing. So there's a certain level that's coming, a certain fear that's coming up for me, because I don't know what this change represents. And I know better than to fight it. I used to fight it a lot. I used to resist it a lot, but I know better than that. I've gone through it many, many times. This particular time seems to be a lot more potent, and it seems to be lasting a lot longer. So it's purely with just with that, because it's longer and it's more potent, it creates its own discomfort. So that's theme number one, expanding your energetic space by filtering out what is no longer serving your purpose. If there's something leaving your life, and by the way, I would love to know through your comments down below, what is being filtered out from your life? What sort of things are exiting from your existence? What sort of things are being released from your energetic field? And the reason why this is happening, because we are making room for something new to come in. It's the equivalent of having a cup filled. If you have your cup full, if you keep on filling it, it's going to overflow. So we have to empty the cup in order to put more in. So we are, many of us, and now I would say that a vast majority of people watching this video are going to concur with that, are going to recognize that this is what's happening. You are going through a process of emptying, energetically, emotionally, and otherwise, in order to eventually welcome something new. Now, the word is eventually, because chances are what is leaving is not necessarily being replaced right away. And that is what I'm feeling in my personal situation. And that again creates its own discomfort. But I know better. I've done this for many years, and I know that the key component is to trust the process. So that's theme number one. Theme number two, becoming more dependent on the trust towards the universal flow. So that's piggybacking a little bit on point number one. Trust is a big thing. When we don't have trust, often we will suffer. And suffering is often a consequence of resistance. So when we don't trust, we will have a tendency to resist. We will have a tendency to grab onto whatever it is that's leaving us in order to create room for something better and something more. And we will have difficulty with releasing what no longer serves us. So one of the themes right now is developing the trust towards universal flow. Your soul sees the entire picture of your life. It has access to information which your ego doesn't necessarily have. And your soul knows your purpose, although I always say the number one purpose is for you to experience, but there's also sub-levels, if you will. So your soul knows your purpose. Your soul sees your path. Your soul sees what's working and what's not working. Your ego may see it very differently. So when we don't trust and when we depend purely on the ego, oftentimes, and usually more often than not, we will tend to experience a lot of resistance. So notice if you are experiencing a lot of resistance. I'm going to give you an example. When I was starting to feel this energy coming on, I already knew what was happening. I was advised by my team that I'm going through a cleanup process, and I'm literally going through dismantling of my foundation. And I understood what it meant, and my ego wasn't happy with that because I just want to hold on and grab on to what's been working all this time. I mean, it's working. Why mess with it? Well, the thing is that it's been working for me up until this point, but I am growing and I am changing. So what has been working up until this point is not going to work nearly as well as I am changing and growing. So as I change and grow, the way I express myself, the way I show up, the way I do things, the way I create my abundance, that too is going to change. And I got a very distinct feeling to step away from making videos for at least a little bit. And in the past, I used to really resist it, and I still resisted it. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, because it is part of me making a living. So if I am not out there, I don't make a living. It's just as simple as that. It's very straightforward. But I knew I had to trust this process, and if I fought it, if I resisted it, I was just going to prolong this pain of change and dismantling. So that's why you didn't see me for 2 weeks. And on top of it, I got COVID, and that really kicked my ass to the point where I had absolutely no energy. And I'm still recovering from it, but I've never felt this low energetically. I don't ever remember feeling such fatigue energetically. I didn't have many symptoms other than losing my taste and my smell and literally a little bit of sniffles. But the energy was by far the worst, and almost a bit of a depression, completely lifeless. And so I thought, okay, well, this is a universe's way of saying, you're not going to do a damn thing. Because, for one, you have no energy. It almost felt like I was completely cut off from the flow. Like I was cut off from any inspiration. Like I was literally just cut off. So I said, okay, I understand. This is my time to lay low and trust that when I take this time off to recover, first I need to, for whatever reason, so I'm not going to fight it. There was no point in fighting it. I had no energy to fight it. But I also understood that there's obviously a higher purpose to this, and that's why I took a couple of weeks off, and I still may take a week off here and there. I'm just being guided by how I feel. So my point is this: if you are feeling low on energy, if you are struggling, just notice if there are aspects of your life that you are resisting, particularly as we go through this change. And resisting isn't bad. It's not about good or bad. I always say the good and bad are labels we put on things. I mean, yes, there are inherently some good and bad things, yes, but I'm not talking about that. So I'm not saying that resistance is bad, but resistance makes things a lot more uncomfortable. So notice, where are you resisting? Is the universe trying to guide you, or maybe even push you in a certain direction, and you're saying, no, 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 I don't want to go there? And chances are it's because your ego is afraid. It's afraid of not knowing what's going to happen. It's afraid of the unknown, essentially. It's afraid of losing what has been, because it represents change. So notice where in your life you are struggling, particularly with resistance. And again, I would love for you to comment down below and just let me know what part of your life are you resisting, if you're resisting. And if you're not resisting, pat yourself on the back. You're well on your way. And by the way, the transformational tools that I have designed, many of them will be able to help you with the resistance, because that's the shadow aspect that's coming up. It's saying, I'm afraid, I'm resisting because I'm afraid. So the tools I've designed are there to help you not only understand that by healing your inner, by seeing your inner child and the wounds of your inner child, but by also healing your inner child. So that is theme number 3. So as we become more dependent to trust the universal flow, we allow new to come in by willing to release the old. Okay. Number 3, this trusting the universe and allowing the new to come in while releasing the old can, and absolutely does, create some tension in the ego, because it is confronted with the necessity to detach from outcomes. Now, here's the interesting thing. Whenever we want something, we generally, not always, but generally speaking, most people do, attach to the outcomes, which means we have an idea and we attach to the outcomes in terms of what it's supposed to look like, how it's going to get there, the time frame, all that sort of stuff. But the reality is that our ego only knows based on its limited understanding of what is and what it has experienced. The universe has a vast array of giving us what we desire in a ways we haven't thought of. So you will often, and I am pretty sure many of you understand what I mean by that, will feel the tension of your ego as it is trying to do things, control things in a certain way in order to ensure a certain outcome. And I believe that it is important to have an intention. Without an intention, it's like being in the middle of an ocean and not having a steering wheel and just kind of basically depending on the wind to take you in whatever direction it wants to take you. When we have an intention, we are energetically focusing our energy in the direction of that intention. So it creates a certain energetic flow in that direction. But more often than not, the universe supplies us with the high and the when, more so than the ego. So you might be experiencing wanting to do things your way, the way you're used to doing them, the way that used to work, the way that used to make sense. But remember, we are changing. You are internally shifting and changing from inside out. So what has worked before may not necessarily work going forward. And this may create some tension. It can bring up certain fears because we might be experiencing doing things the way we're used to do them. However, they're not producing the results that we are used to seeing. And that can make us feel very perplexed and bring out some discomfort and fear, naturally so. And this is where the trust comes in. So notice if you are attaching yourself to outcomes in terms of the how and the when. Leave yourself some room by recognizing that the universe has a vast array of giving us and aligning us with our intentions that is way beyond our current conscious awareness. So notice how that plays out in your life. Again, I would love for you to comment down below and see how that fits in your life. For example, thank you. You might be questioning how you make a living. You might be questioning how you want to make a living. You might be looking for a change in terms of your career. But you might not know exactly what that change is yet. Now remember, you are growing and changing. So who you are today might be very, very different from the person you see yourself 6 months, 8 months, or a year from now. So what you may be deciding today may be completely irrelevant 6 months or a year from now. So keep that in mind. Therefore, what I'm experiencing and what I'm seeing is that it is important to have an intention, leave room for the universe to supply us with the how and the when, and do your best in trying to follow your inner guidance rather than solely relying or depending on what you are used to doing in terms of forcing things, controlling things, or making things happen your way. Because chances are the way you're used to doing things is no longer going to work in the new paradigm that you are shifting into. Okay? So that's point number 3. Which takes me to point number 4. Knowing where you're going, but not knowing the how and the when, the details of the how and the when. Allowing inspiration to come through by the willingness to be still versus doing. This also makes the ego very uncomfortable. So I'm going to give you my example to just kind of nicely tie it in. Like I've mentioned before, I already know that I am shifting and changing. I have certain ideas and intentions of how I want to show up with my work, with my spiritual work going forward. One of the things that I am very passionate about is working in the retreats and with plant medicine. And I'm not a shaman, so it wouldn't be me doing the shamanic work, but working with that in that environment. So I already see it in my future. I've seen it many times. I have been told by plant medicine that this is going to be part of my future work. So I know that in my probably not too distant of a future, I am going to be working with in retreat type settings in addition to my work one-on-one and in group work. But I am not in a space where I am consciously and physically making things happen in order to get there, because I know it's too soon. My internal reshuffling hasn't come to a place yet where I can start working towards that. This still needs to take place. So what I'm trying to say is, though, even though I know where I see myself, and I have seen this many times, I am not necessarily doing anything about it yet other than allowing the process of internal reconstruction to take place. And that makes the ego very uncomfortable because I am literally forcing myself to be still. I am forcing myself to do nothing other than taking time for myself, honoring what my body needs, listening to my intuition that often says, do nothing right now, and just create the space of stillness and be okay with doing nothing. The ego does not like doing nothing because the ego is all about the doing. So that may make you feel very uncomfortable. I am also someone who likes to keep busy. Part of my growing up has been communicated to me that if I am not doing something, I am useless. So there is that internal dialogue still there in the background somewhere, having its say on a certain level, that if I'm not doing something, then it must be wrong. I must be not valuable. How can I gotta do something. Watch out for that, because that's going to be one of the most important themes that will come up for us, and it's probably coming up for you right now. If not now, it will be in the near future, where your ego wants to do, but you're not quite sure what to do yet. And you may not know for a while. You may not know until next year. I'm recording this in 2022. I knew that the year 2022 was going to be a very pivotal year for me. But I didn't know what that meant. I just knew it was going to be very pivotal. Well, I'm in the midst of it now, so I can now clearly see what that meant. But I'm not really doing anything. I'm not physically trying to put pieces together because my old pieces are being dismantled still. So I can't put in new pieces before the old pieces are reshuffled. So you might find yourself being in this very uncomfortable place of wanting to go somewhere, but not being able to do anything about it and just being almost forced to be still. If this is where you're at, or if this is where you're going to be, know that the stillness will very soon change towards the doing. So enjoy it while you can. I remember when I was going through a similar transition years ago, and I had this kind of a lull space where I was in this holding pattern. Actually, thank you. Holding pattern is a very good way of saying it. And I just wanted to do. And the consistent message was, enjoy the stillness, because before you know it, you're going to be so busy. You're going to be doing a lot of juggling. So you're going to be wishing you took some time off and enjoyed the stillness. So if this is where you're at, do your best to enjoy being in this holding pattern. Focus on yourself. Do some meditations. Take care of your body. Take care of your mind. Take care of your soul. Take care of your emotions. Download the transformational tools and start using them to work on yourself, because all this work is going to eventually translate into you doing something down the road. And really take care and nurture yourself. We often don't take adequate time to nurture ourselves. We often nurture other people, especially those that are healer types. We often don't take the time necessary to nurture and heal ourselves. And I always say, and I'm sure you've heard this before, that the more you take care of yourself, the better you show up for all those that you are taking care of. And the more they get benefit from you. If you show up tired, if you show up unhealed, not that you have to be healed completely to help somebody. I said that to somebody the other day. You just have to be a few steps ahead. Healing is a lifelong journey. It's a process. There is no end. There is no destination. It's a process. All you have to do is just be a few steps ahead of the people that you are helping to heal. So if you are showing up with your own wounding, if you are showing up with your old trauma, a lot of times that will come out with your work, particularly if you're a healer. That's just the way it is. So the best thing you can do for your clients, if you're a healer in this instance, is to take care of yourself so that you can show up stronger and better for the people you are helping. And number 5, your ego is no longer in the driver's seat. Your soul is. And that takes some getting used to. Your soul sees the entire picture while your ego can't. So this is again piggybacking on some of the other points that I mentioned. Your soul has a vast view of who you are, what your life path is, or life paths, where you are going, your quote-unquote destination. And your ego often doesn't have visibility to that, at least not when we're starting on our journey. So this is where trust comes in again. Notice, are you trying to create your life based on your ego, or are you allowing your spirit, your soul, to be in the driver's seat? And in order to allow your spirit, your soul, to be in the driver's seat, you have to trust it. So that goes back to one of the first points that I was mentioning, that trusting the universal flow is very important. If we don't trust our soul, if we are not in connection with our soul, first and foremost, if we are not in connection with our soul, we don't have a good relationship with that part of ourselves. And it's just like any relationship. If you don't have a good relationship with someone, oftentimes you're not going to trust them. So if you don't have a good relationship with your soul, you're not going to trust your soul to be in the driver's seat. So take this time of being in a holding pattern to perhaps develop more trust towards your soul. Be willing to take the time, the effort that's necessary to cultivate a better relationship with that aspect of you, because you're a soul and a human both at the same time. You're not just one or the other, you're both. Ideally, we want a beautiful integrated relationship. We don't want just one or the other. So take this time to cultivate a stronger relationship with your soul and developing more trust, and that will go a long way in helping you create the life that you want. The last point I wrote is, be willing to sacrifice what's important to you in terms of how it arrives at your destination. So what was meant by this was a little bit about a similar point about attachment to the outcomes. Be willing to let go of the attachment of how things are going to come to you, how they're going to play out, and when, and leave that to your soul and to the universe. Again, that makes the ego usually feel quite uncomfortable unless one has a very well-developed relationship with one's self. Thank you. So what does it mean to have a good relationship with one's self? In my experience, to have a good relationship with one's self means to integrate your own inner child, to have a good relationship with your own inner child. And everyone has their own inner child. And our inner child is always the one that's wounded. The ego is always in the inner child aspect that's wounded. And if we don't heal our wounds, we cannot integrate ourselves, and then we end up being separate. We end up being separated or feeling separated from ourselves and from oneness. And the idea really is to create more integration. So again, the tools that I've designed, there's one specific one with regards to healing your inner child. So create a space for yourself where you will allow yourself to develop a better relationship with yourself by connecting with and communicating with your inner child. And for those of you who are not familiar with the concept of inner child, when we are in fear, when we are in conflict, it is, generally speaking, our inner child that's in fear, our inner conflict, our inner child that's in conflict. And in order to let go of the fear, let go of inner conflict, we have to integrate, we have to heal. So take this time, if you are in a holding pattern between being and doing, and allow yourself to create a better relationship with yourself, to lick your wounds, if you will, to release some of the stagnant energies that we all have, we've all experienced. It's just part of life. And the big word with that is integration. So that's what I have for you. No cards. This was just kind of given to me. Let's see how it goes. Next time I do a video, I am hoping to do one next week, but if I don't, then just know my energy is wonky again. And I suspect that over the next few weeks, you'll be seeing my content probably slightly differently. I tend to do that quite often, but I always say I listen to my intuition and how information wants to come through to me, so I don't force it my way. I trust the process. I've learned to trust the process. It's not always easy. Boy, is it not always easy. That is for sure. So please download those transformational tools. I believe you will really find them very helpful. And you need time and commitment to yourself. So if you value yourself, if you want to create a better relationship with yourself, that link is down below. Of course, if you would like me to help you personally, one-on-one with my team, to help you overcome some of your emotional entrapments, I would be absolutely honored. That link is down below. And I look forward to seeing your comments on how this information, how this video is helpful to you. Thank you so much. Thank you for being part of this channel. If you liked this information, click like, subscribe, click the notification button. It helps this channel grow, and it helps to spread this information to more people. At the end of the day, the more of us that are in our own power, the more we create a beautiful, better world. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.